Hello everybody, welcome again to the another one Hero Talks podcast. My name is Bart.
My name's Adam. And this week, what we're going to be talking about is open source software. We're not going to go too much in depth about this, but we're just talking about some collocations, different connective words, and having a general chat with Bart mainly this time. Bart's going to be doing the majority of the speaking in this podcast. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. It's a reasonably new area for me. I know a little bit about it, but Bart works in that sector and I'm interested to find out more about it myself. So let's talk about open source software.
Yeah, it is like everything's something new for me also with this kind of stuff. So
so it's giving you a bit more of a chance to, show your language
to check my skills.
Yeah, why not? And people can listen to how a non-native speaker sounds. We can tune in the ears to listen to you a little bit more. So it's interesting. What I wanted to talk about first is a bit of an intro, you would say, into the lesson, into the topic, is when, as a software, would you class yourself as a software developer? What would you class yourself as?
I would class myself like front-end developer, but it is like part of the software development. So yes, I'm software developer also.
So you're the IT guy, you come under the umbrella of IT guy, but you do front-end development.
Front-end development is specialization of software development.
Okay, so you're a software developer who specializes in front-end, and then they'll specialize in lots of different things also. Exactly. So it's very complicated.
This is like a huge tree.
Yeah, huge tree. That's a nice way of saying it. A huge skills tree. So let's talk about personal use. So for things like this podcast, things for use at home with different software. When you're choosing new software, what are some of the interesting factors and important factors you go as a consumer, you would say? What do you look for? So we can talk about like the cost, user privacy, user ratings, the reputation of the software development team who created it. What do you choose and how do you choose?
It depends what I want to achieve by this software. Okay. That's the first criteria I would say.
Okay.
So let's give
operating system.
Operating system. So already just Linux is free, but if I would choose, I would choose Mac iOS because I'm work with it and I'm really in it. But I also have like private Windows computers because everyone is using Windows. And I also used Linux, but just for myself to test it.
Okay.
I would say that I can work with every of the software.
Okay, so
in the case of operating system, doesn't matter for me.
So you would say you have your fingers in many pies. So you're not just a Windows guy or a Linux guy, but you can multitask and you work between the two.
Exactly.
So I'm talking like I know nothing. So which I do a little bit. But are these operating systems? I know it's a silly question, but I just want you to answer it. Are these operating systems compatible with each other a little bit, or do they just not speak the same language at all?
With the kind of the thing that I'm doing commercially, they are compatible.
Okay.
There is a software to this operating system that I use in every.
Okay.
But for example, you will choose Windows if you want to play games.
Yes.
You will choose the MacBook if you are a business guy, you want to do things quickly. You are choose Linux where you are a nerd.
Yeah.
That's the joke for sure. But most of people just taking a Linux because they want to see how it works, and that's the reason.
And just to further more questions, just to probe you a little bit more. So when you're selecting software, a lot of these softwares come with like free trials and things like this. Are they important to you? And what's the purpose of those? Is it just like, I can understand it with like Photoshop and things like this. So you can have a month or a week to play around with it, see if it's for you. But would you be more likely to buy software if it came with a free trial? Or do you kind of know what you need before you buy it? How does it work?
So in this kind of software, for sure, I will choose the one which has a trial version because I want to see the user interface, how it works, what can I do with it, if it is, if the thing that I want to achieve is possible to achieve by this particular system, particular software, and so in this case, yes, probably I won't choose the software which I didn't test and. That would be stupid to spend a lot of money for the software.
Yeah. And the last question I've got is, like, I use user support with my bikes, wetsuits. If I have a problem, I call them. But with computers, I've never really used user support. How do you find user support for Windows, for example, or for Linux or for Apple? Is it a good user support? Is it a good system in place? Can you email a real person, or is there many levels to get to before? So if you have an issue with something,
It is a lot of levels to fix some particular issues, but I would say that Windows, Mac, and Linux has huge communities.
Okay.
And people will help each other. There is a lot of sites where people write particular problem and they are asked for a solution. And normal people like I or you, in free time, they are answering in this
like a forum,
yeah,
or something.
this kind of forum. Yeah,
So it's a community-driven thing.
exactly.
It's quite weird because you would expect the experts who create the program to give you the answers, but then people for free are creating the user book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what we go on to the next part of the topic now. So, is Windows, Linux, and Apple open source? Or is there aspects of it which are like the apps, but is the actual core thing you pay for the license for open source? And I think that's in with the answer there. If it has a license, it's not. Can you explain that to me?
Just Linux is open source from the three that you mentioned.
Okay.
But that not mean that you can change everything and push like code publicly. That means that you can check how it works inside.
Yeah.
You can propose a change, but somebody who is an owner of this code can accept or not your change.
So, but with Windows and Apple, it's not possible. It's a bit more of a locked system, like a fortress. So you can install different apps which are created and trusted with credentials, but in general, that's the code. And then it gets updated and with rollouts.
One thing you can do is just buy it.
Yeah, and so the clue is in the license. So if you pay for the license for this product, you don't have much flexibility a lot of the time with stuff like this. Okay, no, it's interesting. So at the moment, recently there was I think it was a couple of days ago, there was a scandal with Windows.
Yeah.
Was it Horizon? So what was the system? Some system went down.
Somebody pushed wrong update.
That's it.
And
it destroyed everything.
Everything in the whole world.
Well, that shouldn't happen, really.
Yeah.
But it shows how dependent we are on one system, like flights, trains.
Yeah, probably somebody will have huge problems regarding this change. Because it affects like whole world, banking system, airports, everything.
Yeah,
was down.
So if I was to say to you, like, how would you typify? So that means like specify, typify. How would you typically tell me? If I said, what is open source, Bart? How would you explain that to me?
So I would say in the easiest way that open source is the type of the product that you can check how it works from inside. You can propose some change, and if somebody will accept your change, you can improve this product with the owner.
Yeah, so the description I have here also is it gives users the freedom to use, examine, modify, and distribute source and things like this.
Exactly.
Whereas something like a Windows, the core product is owned by a company or individual and has exclusive rights. So it's quite interesting. So again, talking about your personal experiences, what would you change about your operating system, for example?
For my operating system?
Yeah, so one for your personal use and one for work use. Is there anything that you talk about with your friends at work and think, it could be better this? And you think, why is it not better? Or does it function good? What would you change?
I mean, I'm using it all my life, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's just habit for me to visit the systems. The huge difference is when I'm jumping from the Windows to Mac with the shortcut keyboards, because anytime when I work sometime on Windows, I need to go to the Mac. There is command instead of control. Command is placed in the different place in the keyboard, and I have like in my mind that I need to click control, but I'm clicking command, for example.
Okay. So there's different styles. So you've got the QWERTY keyboards and different things.
So that's the one thing when I'm jumping through the systems. Besides, the things that I'm doing works on both systems. So
and if someone's watching this and they're not sure about, like me, obviously, I'm sure about lots of things, but when it comes to computer systems, not so much. But what's the most user-friendly system? So if you were getting a computer for your family, you wanted to use it for basic work and at home, what would you recommend to someone for like?
Basic work.
Yeah, and like a user-friendly interface, like people can use it of all ages, and it sort of gets along with everything.
So probably Mac.
Do you think so, Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I would pick Windows, but that's what they sell in the shop.
Yeah.
So I would just pick what they sell.
I mean, in Poland, Macs are quite expensive, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why most of people are using Windows. But and that's why they are choosing Windows, because it is cheaper, and you can do the same things basically. The best in Mac is that the system starts really quick. In the case of Windows, when I turn on it from scratch, I need to wait longer than I turn on the Mac.
So the Mac it's just on,
Yeah.
and then you decide.
I
how
mean, you
want
don't
to-
turn off it.
okay.
You can just restart it one in month or something like this
Okay.
to
So it's a
clear the
completely
RAM.
different
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, it's a different way of thinking. So more questions. So have you ever used LibreOffice, VLC Media Player, Linux, which you probably have, WordPress, Mozilla Firefox? What's your experience with some of those softwares, or what do you use in alternatives for those kinds of softwares?
I use them, but I would say that paid competition is better.
So you get what you pay for,
Yeah.
you would say. You
I
get
mean,
what you pay
for example, I use Excel from Microsoft.
Okay.
And I also use LibreOffice just for my own things. But I use Excel because, for example, when I was in university, I got a license
Code, like a license key
code,
or whatever,
for the time when I was in university. And that's why I'm using it. And I see this difference. So probably if I will need to use it commercially, I probably will buy from Microsoft. But for my own things, to do something 1 in 3 months, for example, to count something in Excel or do things like that, I would say it's not necessary to buy.
Yeah, it's not necessary to buy things. Because you can get like Microsoft Office 365, and that's like a light version of Office, but it does everything. It does everything that you need it to do. I have the Office Professional because it came with the computer, but I find it no different than 365 for my level of usage, so I don't understand the difference. But you would think, oh no, this feature is much better.
I mean, you as a normal person, you wouldn't use the advanced features from this product.
No.
At all.
No. I look at Photoshop sometimes and it's so complex, but there's products a lot more complex than that, and I just use Editor on my phone.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you can just download Editor to your phone and do the same thing.
Especially with AI tools
and
now.
quicker than in Photoshop. Because
and with AI tools, I think, well, I want to cut the background out.
To work
so you
with
can
Photoshop,
type that in now.
You need to have knowledge, and that's the problem.
If I said to you, can you cut the background out? Can you make my hand turn a little bit? Now with the app, you can write that in text, and it will do that automatically. Especially the new Samsung software and Google Pixel AI. It's really good AI. Okay, so when we spoke about, like earlier, we touched on like the forums and people uploading their own information for user support and stuff. That's what I had in my head was, what is the benefit for people doing that? Like, why would you spend 1 hour of your own free Bart's time to help other people with a problem? Why is that level of support free? Why shouldn't you should get like little bitcoins for that, or little something, I don't know.
That's a good question, but the same question you can ask to the people who are joined to some charity.
Yeah,
I mean that's different.
It's almost the same concept. Though. You're contributing to open source. I give money to a dog's home around the corner.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, it's
exactly. And I have couple answers for this question. I would say first thing first, it's kind of your portfolio, because you can put to the CV that you are part of community of, let's say, Linux, and you can send the links and somebody can check what you did to what
your contribution was,
and somebody who is recruiting you can check what exactly you did, if it is true what you wrote in CV regarding the thing that you pushed to the Linux contributor.
It's interesting, isn't it? And you get ratings and things like this, like was it helpful, was it not helpful type thing and all this. So moving on again, just to I like to come back to different topics. So coming back to the AI type of topic again. So we're talking about open source, as we're talking about. What's the future of open source software? when AI is involved. So when AI writes software, who does the software belong to?
I mean,
Do you know
AI
what I mean by
won't
that?
write the software.
Do you know? Well, we said cars couldn't do this. We said planes wouldn't do this. So now we said AI can't do this. So maybe it can do this in the future.
Maybe, okay, but...
Not in our imagination now. Do you know, like Dolly, the art,
Yeah.
or when I type in a prompt and it creates some nice futuristic art for me using some layers and all this engine, who does that art belong to? Because I did the prompt for it, but I've never been to art school. I've never painted. So does it belong to Google? Does it belong to Dali? Who does it belong to?
That's not
And how do you
question
put a
for
trademark
me.
on
I
it?
probably won't answer for this question, but
It's a complex one,
it
isn't
is.
it?
But
Same with software.
did you read a policy of this tool?
No,
and
it's,
probably there is an answer.
So it's all in the small fine print.
Yeah,
the
there is
policy.
like small text like arts balance.
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you know, like when AI will create something, especially with open source, and it improves it, you think, oh, that's really improved my booking system. When they could have, whoever did that has the right to pull it away. Also, what they give, they can take. So, where does it get stored, or is it just part of the AI community, like the community you talk about giving free help and support? Is that just in there now and it's there forever?
Yeah, but
You know.
I would say that world is already not prepared to the things like that, because let's say that AI is writing an emails, and people who are reading emails, they copy paste this email to the AI tool, and they are copy paste also the answer for this email. So basically, not two people wrote email to each other. AI wrote email to AI.
The AI wrote the email to AI, and then the AI had an argument with this.
Yeah.
No, it's a strange one, isn't it? So if I read some statements to you, can you give me your opinion? And the whole point of me reading these statements is that we're going to use not syntax, but we're going to use different words that connect different words. And Bart's going to give me some answers to them. So I'll read a statement out to you. And the words that we're going to be looking at are adapt, collaborate, contribute, distribute, improve, and modify. So I'm going to read you this complete statement, and you tell me your thoughts about it.
Okay.
So these are written by real people as well. So people who contribute to open source software feel for free might lose the interest or may not be able to continue because of financial reasons. This can impact other users of that software. So, like I was saying, they're giving their free time to make it better, but they're not being financially compensated for that. So eventually, they might lose interest. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it makes sense, but also, as far as I know, there is instead of the people who are contribute to some particular software, they are people who are supporting contributors.
Okay.
And they are sending them money. This is like a tip for coffee or something like this called. And they are getting money like you can get the money like a contributors.
And you also, I've heard that some browsers, for how many hours you use them and how you use them, they give you like little bits of Bitcoin, don't they, and things like this. They give you little incentives, like you said. Okay, the next one. Some open source software projects allow open contributions. It means almost anyone can modify or adapt software freely, which might affect security. So it's free to operate and make better, but you might get someone with alternative motive who thinks, I'm going to open a hole in here so we can get something in there.
Yeah, so the thing that I mentioned before, it is not that anybody can push the change. Somebody need to accept it. So
that's like the security guys at the nightclub almost. So you want to come in, but they check if you can.
Yeah, exactly. So my proposition is, if somebody want to download some open source software, just do it from the official site.
Okay.
And then it's like 90% that it is like correct.
Because you might download a corrected version of some open source, but it's actually been faulted, and then it faults your system. Yeah,
because in the case of open source, somebody can download the source code from the official site, then put to his own site and change something. And this is kind of the risky to download from this site, but from the from the official side, it's not that.
Okay. Another way to start this is two more. These are from real people also as well. So some creators distribute their software among developers to make them collaborate on it. So people distribute their own software with people like you. It's kind of an agile process. So they make it better, they make it better, they make it better. They keep passing it along.
Mm-hmm.
It might make the software difficult for beginners to understand and use because it's been advanced now beyond what its original capabilities were designed for. So you think, oh, this is a simple photo editing app. And then you go on and you think, whoa, this is quite professional actually. Because people like you have made it better. So that should there be levels to this? Or what do you think?
But this is like advantages.
It's progression,
I mean, every one software that we are using right now works like that. How Windows looked like 10 years ago.
Windows 95 and things like this.
You could do something with it, but it wasn't as advanced as it is right now. Photoshop also, any software, so I wouldn't agree with
this is going off topic, but what's your first input to changing something to do with an operating system or some software code? Changing something. So what was your first input with that? You made a change to something, because I have an answer for mine, and it's not a big one. It's quite a human.
Change in the, for example, when I have first computer with Windows.
So I remember at school, my first messing around with anything to do with background system workings of a computer was changing the Windows 95 loading screen. I changed it to the Simpsons one. So rather than the Windows box 95, it was Bart Simpson, and we changed the whole school's computers to have Bart Simpson on the loading screen. So that was my first hacking attempt in a way. Just changing, it was .log or .sys, that was the file. And you could change all the.
I don't remember maybe first one, but I can.
That was my first one.
Interesting example what I did once, because in the Windows there is folder when you can put some script and it will be initially execute when system started, and I put their command to shut down the system. And system turn on and shut down. Shut down.
It was a cycle.
That was later hard to fix it because there is in Windows.
In school, probably, or did you do it at home?
In school.
So that's the funny one. So it's always in the IT at school.
Yeah, but it was hard to fix it. But we had CD with the system, and I need to install it again.
It's a bit of fun, isn't it? It's a bit of fun. So last question. Although the software itself improves continuously, customer support might be worse compared to proprietary software. Users often depend on community forums or self-help resources. So it's going back full circle again. So we've kind of agreed that they're useful, but we sort of said people should be paid maybe for this, or we hope that people are paid for this. So the word to use is improve. So I think it is improving generally, this kind of software support this way, these forums.
Yes, it is. And also, as we have AI right now, also instead of clear GPT, there is a lot of AI tools. I don't remember the particular name right now, but there is AI tools which are search engines. So you are putting the problem and it looks inside some documentation forums and it's taking an answer for you.
Just a couple more questions. So if you're looking at the different areas with open source, things like OpenStreetMap or Google Street Map, because you can actually have a little bit of an effect on those, and Wikipedia. So I can create my own Wikipedia page, you could create yours, and I can also alter people's Wikipedia page. So you can alter people's bios and then they have to alter them back. It's an open source, isn't it? So what potential problems could there be for something like public health, for example? If that was open source software.
If public health software would be open source.
Yeah, sometimes it is. I think sometimes it is. So what effect could that have? Like, for instance, like open source principles, if they applied those principles, I'm saying, so not if it is, at the moment it's proprietary software, so it's lock and key, they have the passwords, but similar to the Microsoft issue, someone got in and affected that, and it's affected everything.
But I think that in the case of Microsoft, that was some who is employed.
Yeah, made a mistake. Well, they're saying this.
Yeah.
They're saying this. I think it's someone else, personally. But you'll find in maybe a year, they'll do a review on it and it won't be the same story, maybe. But
we will
so
see.
public health software is proprietary. So it's lock and key, license, no code available. What could be, so we're just talking hypothetically, what could be a potential problem? Give me like top two or three reasons.
So probably can change the code and
Data, for
example, and in the case of some pills, probably
prescriptions,
doctor could do something wrong to different patients.
So you wouldn't recommend open source for this kind of thing? So it's just like
I'm not saying I wouldn't recommend open source. Depends who is responsible for this software.
Yeah, if you could lock half the system away and think, well, you can have free use of this if you want to make it better, but you're not getting involved with the big stuff kind of thing. What about education? So
in a case of education, already I would say we have problem with it.
Yes.
Nowadays, because there is a lot of information and nobody is checking it. You are typing something in internet, first thing in Google, and for you think that it is like the one and correct, perfect answer for your question. But
one of the best open source in the world ever, in my opinion, is YouTube. It's educational, but it tells you the wrong things sometimes. But
why you are called it as open source?
I think it is in a way, because if you want to know an answer, I'm looking at it from a different perspective, if you understand what I mean. So not the typical term of open source software, but YouTube is an open source plethora, like a platform of information, whether it's the right information, the wrong information, but it's completely... It is regulated, but I mean, you can go on YouTube and say, I know that I can build a ladder that will get me to the moon, and this is how you do it, and you can put your idea on there, and people are like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. The world's flat. You know, there's so many videos where things like this, and people might believe this, or they might follow those instructions. So it is connected to education, but it's just, I view that as like a real open source environment, if you understand.
This is really huge and hard topic, I would say, for another podcast, I would say.
Yeah, but I'm just finishing it on this topic, like YouTube is a kind of open source environment.
Yeah, I know, I see your point, but why you think that things that you learn in school in the books are true?
Yeah, well, then that comes down to more things.
Because, for example, in some different countries, people are teaching the children different history. And, for example, in Russia, they are teaching different history of Poland. And in Poland, also different. So
yeah, no, it's true.
So which one is true? They are teaching you in school, so it should be true. But
if we're then once you change, so at the moment this podcast was the open source box, but now I've opened the window. You would say I've opened the doors to conspiracy theories, Pandora's box. Yeah, I would. If you wanted to use an idiom, a British idiom, I've opened a can of worms. You would say I've opened a can of worms. So I've opened a whole new topic, and that can only mean one thing: that we can end this topic here.
Yeah.
So I think it's a nice way to end this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Food for thought.
We will continue.
We can continue
next
time.
Next time, exactly. So yeah, thank you for today. I want to mention that Adam is an English teacher and he has a couple slots if you want to improve your English speaking, writing, and a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I would say today's kind of podcast, if you were to look at it in a lesson format, was a flipped class. So I was the questioner and Bart was doing a lot of the answers. It's good to flex Bart's language muscles so he can flex his language skills. And it's good for me to inquisitively question someone on a topic that I don't know anything about. So just a different format today. It was a little bit of a different format. We'll think about the next topic.
Yeah. So
it's pretty cool.
Please check the description. Everything will be described below. And I hope see you soon in the next one. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.